Job costing software for contractors. There are dozens, maybe hundreds of job costing softwares for contractors. And frankly, at the end of the day, most contractors are still left guessing. The tool, the software, that's rarely the problem. The process, that's where the issue is. By the end of this video, you're going to know what to look for in job costing software and what must already exist in your business before you buy anything else. We work with over 100 contractors around the country, and so we get a lot of comparison stories when we hear many of our coaches and advisors. Every Monday we have a coaches meeting, and they share stories and cross over, and we get to hear. We're always taken by competing stories of two different types of contractors. One is the contractor who has bought the software, all in on the software, and the software really is liberating them from chaos. The other is the contractor who bought the software, doesn't use the software, bashes on the software, is frustrated by the software, and we see these two things. And we wonder, wait, it's the same software. How can this be a dog software over here, but it's changed their life over here? So is the question really the software? We get this question all the time. Hey, what's your favorite PM software, accounting software, marketing software, CRM? You know what our response is? Whichever one you'll use. That's it. We just want you to use what you paid for. The reality is when we look at those two different contractors, the issue is not the software. The issue is the contractor and the process they've built behind the scene in order to make that software work. The software is a benign tool. It's off the shelf. It's ready for you to use and deploy, and they're all pretty good or they wouldn't be on the market. And so what it's waiting on is for you to come in with the right process in order to be able to install and inform that software so the software can begin to work for you. Here is a myth of software you need to be aware of as a contractor. If you're going to buy software to solve your problem, that is a myth. If you're going to buy software to go fix everything when you bring it in, that is a myth. The software will only be as good as the information you put in and the process via which you go back to it with repetition, predictability, and meaning. In other words, if you don't have a sound process already, the software is not going to fix anything for you. Job costing software really should just do one thing really, really well for you. It should be able to track your contract value minus your cost of goods sold, give you a gross profit number, and then subtract an overhead number, and ultimately give your net income on that individual project. That's the whole point of job costing software. Now, the good news about job costing software, to make cost of goods a little easier, we have come up with a little acronym that can be helpful called SLME, or SLIME. And so these are the people-based of goods elements over here in the charges that go with those. And then these are the non-people-based cost of goods elements. So subcontractors, labor, materials, and equipment. So materials and equipment, non-people, subcontractors, labor, people. And so you might be looking at, well, what's the difference between subs and labor? Well, subs are like a typical subcontracting crew. Labor could be people that you have as W-2s, but you decide to attach them to a project and actually account for them as cost of goods, what we call above the line right here. And so again, that's between you and your accountant to determine what's best for you. And then the non-people are the materials, pretty straightforward, and equipment, but you also need to cost code equipment that you own and you're applying to the project. There's a lot of landscape contractors, they own skid steers. There's a lot of general contractors that own site grading equipment or whatever. Just make sure that you're cost coding that equipment to the proper cost of goods and tabbing it, whether it's your equipment or it's equipment that you've rented just for the job. So job costing software should basically give you fields to be able to track all this per job, and really the high effort on this is going to be in the cost of goods. So day by day, as you're getting invoices that are submitted from subcontractors or vendors or whoever else, you're taking them and you're plugging them in to whatever fields that software has for you. And if it's doing a good job as a software, it's actually tracking real-time data as to the process of that particular project and where that project stands on its stated budget that you inputted into the contract value. So that's job costing. In all its basic form, that's job costing right there. And the answer and the question that it's answering is this: were we profitable? That's it. Now, it answers a lot of other questions too, but that is the basic answer. Were we profitable? And then from there you can say, do we want to build here again? Do we want to build for them again? Do we want to go to this geography, this product, that product? There's a lot of good decisions that it will help you make, but the foundational decision is, were we profitable or were we not? Because that's the straightforward one. We all need to know, because if it wasn't profitable, we don't need to keep doing that. If it was profitable, then we learn to keep doing that and leveraging that profit for further growth in whatever it is we want to do. That's basic job costing. Now, the basic job costing needs to be brought into the software, but notice the software is the third element of this equation. Before we ever get to the software, we need to backtrack. Remember what I said at the beginning of this video? The problem is not the software. The problem is the process by which the software gets deployed. And that process is on you and it's on me as the owner of these businesses. So where do we start? Let's back all the way up. If you do not have a documented process for how you do standard job costing per job, the software is never going to work for you, because garbage in, garbage out. And if the garbage you feed it is a lack of process, then the garbage it feeds you back is going to be equally not as helpful. And so the first thing that we need to do is we need to follow something called the systems mindset. Here's what that says. The next time you do a thing, job costing, I want you to document it, capture it like it's the last time that you will ever do it. We need to document that process. Well, Scott, do we write it? Do we video it? Whatever. I do not care. Capture it, that's why I use that word, and record it like it's the last time that you'll ever do it. Now, once you have the documented process, you can then move to the second element. Now, before we do this, I want to draw your attention to a tool that I have. So if you click on the link in the description below, there's a video down there that I've prepared for you. It's a deep-seated training video that I want you to go walk through if you're a construction business owner. And it's called How to Build a System for Your Construction Business. And in that video, I walk you through, and one of the tools that I name is a tool called the MPR, or the Master Process Roadmap. Now, the Master Process Roadmap is broken down into 4 core categories or systems: marketing, sales, ops, and admin. And under each one, it gives a description, short description of all the processes that exist in the business. So for marketing, things like your website, social media channels, architect outreach, whatever your word of mouth is. In sales, it's what the sales call looks like. In operations, what electrical walk, permitting, permit pulling, all of those processes are found on your Master Process Roadmap. So when you document the job costing process, we're then going to go anchor it here on the Master Process Roadmap. And once it's there, we can start to train our team with repetition, predictability, and meaning. I'll give you an example. So one of the other tools I talk about in that video that I mentioned earlier is a tool called the Anchor. It's a 52-week look at the year of your business on a simple spreadsheet and all the ingredients down the left-hand side that you want to make sure to embed across that 52 weeks. So one of the processes that you would want to train on at least once or twice a year is the job costing process. So now we have a process documented. It is now being trained repetitively, predictably, and meaningfully. And guess what? Now we're ready to bring in the software, because we can go to the software people who are going to demo that software for us and go, hey, we've got this core process within our business called a job costing process. I want to show you how we do that process. Now I want you, software person, to show me how we can do that process with your software and how it makes it easier, how we can get better information out of it, and answer all these wonderful questions. So here's the bottom line when it comes to software and job costing. You bring the process, make them bring the solution for how that process is going to integrate within the software that they're providing. Don't lean on the 128 features that software does and only 6 of which you're actually going to use. We need to make sure that software actually is doing the things that you need it to do. So I want you to think of software as a multiplier, but if you don't have the process, what it's actually going to do is multiply the amount of time you spend working. Instead of creating a documented process, then what you're empowering the software to do is decrease the amount of time that you're spending on job costing. But if you don't have the process documented, then you're going to do job costing a different time every time you go into it, and it's just going to cost you more time. But if you have it processed and it's trained, then every time you go into the software, it'll take you less and less time. And so now what the software is doing is buying you time back, and that is the entire purpose of everything that we teach. Running a construction business can be chaotic, and with proper process, proper training, and proper software, then you can start to be liberated from that chaos to make time for the things that matter most.